welcome to Do the Right Thing, our weekly writing prompt podcast. I'm Matthias.
And I'm Jarvis.
Jarvis and I are aspiring writers, which means we don't write at all.
So we're doing a challenge. Each week, we pick 3 randomly generated words. Our goal is to use those words in a story that we spend 30 minutes writing.
See, there's only one way to phrase that part of the podcast and make it go out smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And without going strictly to that one saying, it always goes wrong.
Always goes wrong.
So we come on the podcast, we read out the stories that we wrote, we talk about what we've learned in writing them, and then we talk about listener-submitted stories.
Yeah, we're simply here to help you do the right thing, guys.
This week we are joined by our wonderful guest from
Ireland.
Here from Down Under, your favorite Aussie boy, Reuben. What's your last name,
Thank
Reuben?
you. My last name's Morehouse, but I'm just happy to be called everyone's favourite Aussie boy. I'm going to adopt that title.
No,
I'm really happy to be here.
If Elliot comes on, it'll be our favorite Aussie man.
Second favourite.
Oh,
yeah.
Second favorite.
There's a lot of takes here. So really glad to have you on. I actually legitimately really love Deep Impact and Medium D. I will admit, as a fan, there was a time where I was like, I don't know if I really want to check this out. This seems, this is a knockoff We've Got Worm, but no, it's legitimately fantastic in its own
it started
unique
that way. But
yeah,
who among us hasn't had a knockoff Doof Media podcast? Huh?
Yeah.
That's weird. Who else has done that?
Can't throw stones. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in the same
I'm
puddle.
really happy to be here. I love listening to the show every week, and I sometimes do my right things as well, and I'm excited to talk about them more.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the words this week.
Exactly.
Right?
So this week was our specialty week where you could either use the words or just make your story Halloween-y theme.
Yeah. So just to real quick go over the specifics of the rules.
Yeah.
So we had we had the normal words, which this week were spooky, Halloween, pumpkin, and candy.
Yes.
Which I specifically chose to be all Halloween themed. They weren't randomly rolled like they usually are. And then we had a special Halloween challenge where the challenge is to write a Halloween story and not use any of those words.
Oh, that was a challenge?
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, either one's valid.
Okay.
What did you do?
I wrote a story about Halloween using those words.
Okay.
So I guess I just used the words.
Oh, there was the fine print. If you write about Halloween while using those words, you're banned from the podcast. So this is really too bad.
Oh.
This is a bummer.
That's why I'm here. I'm taking over as the new second host. So
it's
get
been a
out
nice
here,
run. Yeah, actually, so which things did you guys do? Did you guys use the words or the challenge?
I used the words instead of the challenge because I don't know, like it's getting really close to the good old-fashioned Hallows Eve.
Yes, this episode comes out the week of Halloween.
Yeah. Exactly. We will be recording our next episode the day after Halloween.
I guess so. Yeah. But by that point, it'll be too late for listeners. But I was really annoyed that our episode numbers don't sync up right. I think we had Matt on episode 24.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, come on. He needed to be on 25, but it just didn't work out that way. It just doesn't feel right. And then you're on episode 29. This is episode 29, and
you're one off.
Right.
Yeah, which means that we just need one dummy week.
Yeah, we should have actually
We'll just call this episode 30.
Yeah,
Fine.
We should have done that. Okay. Anyway, sorry. You have more to say about choosing the words, Travis?
Oh, no. I mean, the words were very straightforward. As I sat down to write my story, I didn't know where I wanted to go because I was going to do a third installment of that 3-part series I was doing, which I do still want to do, but I wanted a break. Just a little break. Step outside, look at the flowers, think about shit.
Okay.
So I did that.
Reuben, did you do the challenge of the words?
I did the challenge, and it was a mistake because, as we'll see shortly, candy and pumpkin are 2 words that I really would have liked to use. So I regret my decision, but I'm still pretty happy with my story, so we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like it was pretty harsh of me to make candy one of the words that you're not supposed to use. It was when I did the challenge as well. And all of the ones except for candy, I could get away with not saying.
Yeah.
But candy was one where I just substituted treats and it sounded weird. And I mean, maybe I probably what I should have done is just not written the story that includes candy in it. But
because you can definitely make a Halloween story without candy.
Yeah.
Is it still Halloween though without candy? That's like the best part.
I feel that's what you consider a Halloween story. Like, does it have to be trick or treating or like spooky, scary stuff, or could it just be something that happens on Halloween?
Well, how do you know it's Halloween without candy? That's one question. Without people wanting candy.
Or the word Halloween.
Right, yes, exactly. So
it is October 31st.
Well, I think that's what a few people
what that means.
Yeah. Wink. No, a few people, I read stories where people kind of had to say October 31st, and it felt a little, I don't know, a little clunky, but you got to do what you got to do, I suppose.
This is the first Do the Right Thing additional or holiday challenge.
Let's call it a side quest.
Side quest, okay.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know if that fits with our themes, but I guess holiday challenge isn't especially either.
Quest.
Alt
it's
quest?
like if you're going to the like main quest, right? But you realize you don't have the eye of Katamamu. So instead, you have to go back to the Tower of Pisa and do the
Fight
quest
Galileo.
there.
What an adventure!
Yeah, the fight Galileo.
Okay. We'll workshop that a little bit. So anyway, listeners who participated in doing that, please give us your feedback on what parts of it you liked and any suggestions.
And also, if we should do more, maybe
we're definitely gonna do more, especially considering they're optional. So it's like if you don't like it, just don't do it.
Exactly. We just want to see if it is.
You just destroy the audio.
We just want to see if it is something that y'all would enjoy a little bit more.
There's a that's behind you. Sorry, Jarvis has a mug and he set it on the table that the microphone's on. It didn't turn out well.
They call me Mug Boy.
Okay. Well, Reuben, actually, let's talk about you. How was doing the right thing? I know you've been doing it a while. But
how's your first official time?
Yeah, I did it a fair amount a few weeks ago, and then I fell off when work got really busy, but I'm really glad to be doing it again. It's really fun because I kind of, I like to create stories and stuff, but this really gives me an opportunity to challenge myself. I'll often try and write something from a perspective or in a style that I wouldn't normally do, and this, I think it really helps me kind of grow as a story writer. I really enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that.
That's the whole point at the end of the day.
Yeah, and so we'll talk about what specifically we were going into the stories when we get to our sections. But for now, let's talk about the community real quick. Again, there's some fantastic new people right along with us. I know Matt submitted a story. I am really sad to say that Elliot wrote a story as well, and I'm really messed up by it.
There's a reason he's not everyone's favorite Aussie boy. Let's just say that.
He's too dark.
I mean, I won't too dark. I mean, I won't say that it didn't have to be written, but
it needed to be written.
It did need to be written. So if you haven't read it, I mean, if you are in a good mental state and you can take a hit to your psyche, go to // do the right thing, go to the word list for this episode,
episode 29,
read the story that's called Choo Choo, and it's a play on words.
Even
where
that
it's
title.
chewing. That's a reference to our Doof and Chill session. Just be prepared for the worst. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, I think that's really all we have for community stuff this week.
Yeah, that's all that's really happening right now.
Yeah, no big news, not yet. But yeah, if you did the challenge or didn't do it, let us know how you feel. You can send an email to redthingcast@gmail.com, which we've never gotten an email before that wasn't a specific request for being on the Doof patron list.
Yeah. Or like a email from like Pornhub saying thank you for signing up.
Oh, you get those too?
Yeah, pretty often.
You know, that joke did not land right with me. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, come on, mug boy, pick it up.
Sorry, for context, it is 6 a.m. here because we are bowing to the whims of our Australian overlords.
Yes.
Well, it's
for
11
the
p.m.
schedule.
here for me, so don't act all high and mighty.
Wait, that's a perfectly reasonable time. What are you talking about? You go to
so-
bed before 3 a.m.
So you're saying that our skies look the exact same right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of
wait,
us
that's
aren't
right.
young hip party folk anymore, guys. I got a bedtime and shit that I gotta,
I cannot imagine obeying a bedtime and actually getting a healthy amount of sleep. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Miss me with that.
When my mom first said the word bedtime, I turned 27. I was like, I can't do bedtimes anymore. I'm sorry.
I'm an adult.
Sorry.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the stories. Jarvis, you are first.
That is me.
Yeah. So Jarvis, what did you go into writing the story this week? And what was your reasoning between not doing the challenge and choosing the words instead?
Yeah. So I think the reason is because I feel, especially during these months, that I like the feeling of just like the Halloweeny fallish feeling. How everything is like a little chilly, but it's like too chilly for how your body is right then and there, and the foods that come out, the drinks, the clothes,
Pumpkin spice lattes.
the pumpkin spice lattes, which I make too goddamn many.
Jarvis works at Starbucks.
I do work at Starbucks. Yeah, I don't know. I really like the overall feel of October, which is why I think I chose to use pumpkin and then all those different words instead of a instead of a Halloween story, I guess.
So you wanted to be more October focused and Halloween themed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the story that I did write is after takes place after a wicked cool Halloween party.
Sounds familiar.
Does it?
I don't know.
They say write what you know.
Actually, I've never been to a Halloween party.
Oh, well, I think the way I read your story was that it was a party, but everyone was wearing costumes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Halloween parties are like.
Okay. Well, it's pretty easy to imagine. Okay. I had something else I wanted to say, but I don't think there's any smoking in the story. So
Yeah, there's not.
That's a new direction, Jarvis.
Yeah, it's finally, because I can, if my lungs are clear, then my head's clear.
Well, I mean, I will say that, but everyone is also drunk, so
Yeah,
I mean,
there is a vice, but this vice smells a little better.
Yeah, in some, out some.
In some, out some.
I don't know if that's a saying, but it felt right. So
Hey, better out than in all. I always.
no, we're not. I'm deleting that. We are not putting Shrek on this podcast. A real quick tangent, and I actually will probably want to cut this. Reuben, have you heard of the of Shrek Fest?
No.
Oh, I have heard of Shrek Fest.
Have you
Actually, the Shrek animated redo,
yes.
I've forgotten what it's called.
Yes.
It makes me so happy. I
It's
absolutely love it.
actually like a really fun ride.
Wait, what? So
Yeah,
they're doing
yeah.
an animated version of Shrek?
No, so they have already made, you can go on YouTube and watch the entire thing, a shot-for-shot remake where every scene was given to a different person to create in their own medium.
Oh.
So some are animated, some are live action. They all the live action
yeah.
scenes have different actors.
That's pretty rad, honestly. It's all on
Also
YouTube?
completely, revoiced.
Yes.
All the music is redone in different styles. It's fucking weird. It's awesome. Definitely watch it. Watch the trailer. You'll get a vibe for it.
I want to see how many people are going to do really bad Eddie Murphy impressions.
It's called Shrek Retold, if you want to find it.
It's a wild ride.
Shrek Retold. I know I've heard of that. I think I probably went to go and see a play.
Yeah, there is
titled that.
Shrek the musical. I had to see that in my Theater 1 class for some reason.
You
Yeah,
had to. You got the opportunity to. Excuse you. That's an awesome musical. I love it.
Is it?
Okay, well, like
Yes,
that
it is,
musical
Matthias. How dare
so
you.
like it follows the movie, right? One to one up to a certain point. and then it's all about gay pride for the rest of the play.
Is it? I don't remember.
Which of course, I think it's totally awesome, and I like it. It's just, it took me aback because I was like, oh, I didn't know this was what Shrek was about. I didn't know this was the like deeper meaning that I wasn't catching.
I need to watch Shrek 2. Maybe I'll just watch it when the...
You should watch
I don't know if you
Shrek
do.
3rd.
What? Shrek 2 is really good, actually.
It is
Oh,
good.
come on. The
No,
original
no,
Shrek
no.
is good, and then it very quickly
No.
goes downhill.
No. Shrek 2 is an actual, no joke, comedic masterpiece.
Shrek 1
3,
is good.
not so much.
Shrek 2 is good. Shrek 3, no. Shrek 4 is good. Shrek 4 is
Is it-
passable.
Okay, passable, but it's Shrek, so it takes some points already.
Yeah.
But Shrek 2 is actually like where Shrek 1 was a basically parody of Disney movies in general, or not parody of, I guess, a deconstruction. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah.
Satire.
Yeah, satire,
I mean,
yeah.
it's pretty obvious what tropes it subverts.
Lord fuck.
Shrek 2 is like the genuine take on Shrek.
Yeah.
And it's like the character goes in a new direction. There's like really funny beats. The soundtrack is again amazing.
The ending scene is fantastic. Like, I jam out to that all the time.
Yes, and Puss in Boots is a marvelous character,
And then he went off to make his own spin-off movie
and it was
that no one saw.
I didn't see it either. So
Apparently a lot of people saw it because they made a second one.
okay.
Puss
They
in Boots
made a
2.
Puss in Boots 2?
Yes.
Oh my God.
The repussening.
I don't like that.
That one hurt. So guys, to get us back on topic here, you know, they've been doing a lot of like remakes of classic movies over the years. I think it's time Shrek is remade, and in that case, who do you guys think should play Shrek?
Shrek. Okay, are we talking live action or animated?
You know, I kind of want to see DreamWorks do a live action version just so they can like parody all the live action Disney remakes, you know?
Can it be mixed medium, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Interesting. I'm here for it. I mean, this is our fantasy scenario. It can be whatever we want.
Maybe the humans in Shrek are real,
Right.
but Donkey and everyone else is like...
Is Shrek real?
Oh yeah.
Shrek is real. Yeah, it's...
So like all of Farquaad's men and most of the people in Farquaad's castle and shit, they're all real, and Fiona is real, but Shrek and Donkey are animated.
and Fiona, you see her transition from live
from
action
real
to
to
animated.
animated.
It's just awful.
As she turns into a cartoon. But yes, I think Jim Gaffigan should play Shrek.
Oh.
Okay.
Dave Chappelle should play Donkey.
Okay.
For Fiona, we gotta get I want to say Halle Berry, but that's only because I have a crush on Halle Berry. So instead, have you seen The Fault in Our Stars?
No.
Okay. Have you seen The Fault in Our Stars?
Yeah, I've seen it.
All right, cool. Do you Hazel Grace?
Yeah.
The main character.
Yeah.
I want to gender bend Fiona and make it Gus's water. Specifically in that scene when the car door is open and he has that tube in his stomach.
I can't recall the scene, and Reuben hasn't seen this scene. You're just recalling it to yourself.
And then it is leaking his stomach acid because he has leg cancer.
I like the idea of a gender bent Fiona being played by a guy, but only from this one scene. So they recut parts of him, I'm assuming, from this one scene and get that to do all the lines, and it's this kind of robotic, choppy version of that scene being cut into all of Fiona's lines.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I love you, Shrek.
Additionally, Lin-Manuel Miranda plays Pinocchio.
Oh yeah.
That seems like
I
a
could see
genuine
that. I could see
casting.
that.
Yeah.
Who would you guys put as Farquaad? That's
Someone
the hard
tiny.
one to me. I mean, there'd have to be because it's live action.
Oh, okay. You know what?
Elijah
hot
Wood.
take.
How
Okay.
about Elijah Wood?
Ooh.
We know he's
see it.
tiny because he was a tiny little.
I was
hobbit.
thinking to get him back in the business, Kevin Spacey.
Oh, it just got cancelled. I hate to say it, but the movie just got cancelled.
Okay, think he would do a good job. He would do a good job.
He has a
because that role would be all he has left.
You do know why Reuben is making all these noises, right?
Oh my god.
You do, right?
About Kevin Spacey?
Yes.
Of course I do.
Okay.
That's why
guys, we've been talking about Shrek for like 10 minutes and now it's all gone to waste because we have to cut the whole thing now because of what Jarvis said.
The thing is, we probably do have to cut this because we are already going to be over time. So
okay, here
I will. But I'm enjoying this.
I'll cut the section that came before the Shrek conversation.
Jarvis, maybe you could, if you could just say like in a neutral tone, just say like Hugh Jackman, and then we'll just cut that out, swap it out, and we'll fix it all up.
Maybe it should be Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, perfect.
I think
perfect.
This section is going to go to the archives for when we inevitably do our Media MD knockoff podcast.
Medium PhD.
This will be one of the first episodes.
Yeah,
or maybe it's an episode for the backlogs.
This audio. I've got this audio sitting in my blackmail file, so.
Okay, great. All right, glad we're on the same page. All right, Jarvis, let's I guess we can just get into your story. Is there anything else that we need to know before we get into it?
No, let's just put on the pants and run into it.
Wait.
Let's just put on the pants and run into it.
Put on the pants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not put on the pants. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, that doesn't make sense.
The title of this one is Hollowed Wishes. Oh God, what happened? Tyler was on the floor of his kitchen, a half-eaten sandwich tucked firmly under his arm, staining his shirt with browned mayo. He had one eye open to the air. The other was squashed into the tile. Looked around at the dirty pots and pans and candy strewed along the floor and counters and shelves and stove. It was the day after Halloween, and he was about sick of candy. Mostly sick in general. Everything spun in Tyler's head, the lights above punching at his brain. His burps were laced with Irish whiskey and fruit punch, the devil's cocktail. He gained enough consciousness to roll over, almost vomiting as soon as his stomach shifted. His eyes clamored for something to focus on, and there he found a tiny pumpkin, picturesque, sitting upright inches from his face, its grooves vivid and lifelike, as if a real pumpkin was candied and bite-sized. He looked up to see another not far behind it, then another and a cluster, leading towards the fridge and into the other room. In that moment, his best bet was to crawl ever so slowly out and into the closest restroom. One false move, and his roommates would never let him live it down. Following the trail of pumpkin candy corn, Tyler made his way to the living room, almost instantaneously sober from the sight. It was a monster mass. Frankenstein's monster hugged up with Frank, and the mummy curled up in the corner of the room holding a half-empty pack of Bush humming sea shanties. The ceiling fan was broken, and the culprit, Dracula, was still grabbing onto them ever so subtly, rocking in the lazy boy, his drool mingling with the fake blood at the corner of his lips. There were some 30 people in the room, all half-assedly dressed as their favorite nightmare, either passed out or an intoxicated zombie. The party was a blur to probably more people than just Tyler. The flashing lights, bombless pits of vodka cranberry juice, a distinct smell of burning popcorn and rotten eggs, and a smoky haze over the entire house. Beyond that, any other element of the party was lost yesterday. All he really wondered was where his girl was. Well, she wasn't his girl, but a girl he was hoping to see more often outside of the parties they throw. She wasn't in the crowd, wasn't in the kitchen, but the coat she came in was draped over the couch, and the people she came with definitely didn't leave. So she was here. And somewhere in Tyler's tipsiness, he was happy about that. The trail led to his room, the tiny orange things fitting perfectly in the crack in his door. His stomach eased. Not enough to let him up, but enough to take the detour. The gentlest of pushes swung the door open. The room was plain, wasn't dirty or all too clean. Didn't have a single poster, and his bedsheets were the most muted color of gray. but it was home to Tyler. He made his way in, watching how the trail curved and whirled around his room, leading all the way up to the underbelly of his bed. The candy spilled out from underneath. Millions of them. The ones around the bed carrying the rotten egg smell. Tyler found his feet, using the nearest wall as a prop. As soon as his right foot hit the floor, though, he yelped. Something was in his shoe, something sharp, and had weight to it. So he found the floor again, ripped off his shoe, and tapped the thing out in his hand. It was a tiny brass key. The weight was odd in his hands. Didn't pull down at all, but towards the bed. Had fun last night. A woman's voice teased from the bed. Playful but mischievous. The words rang out, and more tiny pumpkins spewed out from underneath the bed. There's so many, he thought. Pumpkins just barely reaching his ankle. There was only one issue. The fun is all over, and you didn't make a single move. Why is that? Too chicken shit to spit game? The pumpkins started to burn, each one a lava rock as they graced his thigh skin. There were so many of them, his feet left the ground, pulling him back against the wall as the unrelenting torrent continued. You ask for friends, I give you roommates. You ask for fun, I give you a party. You ask for love, and I give you the girl of your dreams. So why can't you appreciate anything? Need to point you in the right direction? Give you instructions. You can call upon power and use it for the pettiest of petty. Tyler needed air. Tiny pumpkins punched the back of his throat as he keeps only his head above the flood. I used to work for gods, Hell, Zeus, Dionysus, and Creon. They called upon me to sway the world in their favor. And now I work to get a spoon-fed dropout laid. So, you will get laid, and you will thank me profusely after. A tiny pumpkin made its way into Tyler's lungs, tearing the walls of his left bronchial tube and driving its green stem through the bottom of his left lung. Blood filled the gap, bubbling up in labored coughs that only left enough room for more pumpkins to do the same. You summon Channer, you get your wish. Now, you live your wish out, and you pay my price. Everything goes dark. Tyler sees the light. It's Halloween day, and Tyler has never been drunker. So lost and confused, he's standing in the middle of the dance floor, a sandwich in one hand and a can of Busch in the other.
So, Jarvis, fantastic story. This is an interesting take. I actually have no idea how to classify this. I was hoping that as I started saying that sentence, I would know how to classify this, but I don't. But I like the eldritch elements. I like the kind of monkey's paw you're alluding to.
What was that?
A monkey's paw. Yeah. No, I didn't know it until I listened to the Doofcast episode on the movie Monkey's Paw. No, it's not called Monkey's Paw. It's called
12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys. So
there's a monkey over here.
A monkey's paw is basically a genie wish that gets twisted.
Okay.
Whatever. So you ask for something and it inevitably goes wrong.
Well, yeah. So that idea of the monkey's paw has been going on for a very long time.
Yes.
I think since the start of people granting wishes, that was the first idea. Yeah.
Prophecies subverted and stuff like that. And you've mixed that with this wild imagery of this party and these pumpkins. I really like the pumpkins, actually.
Me too.
That's my favorite visual beat, I think.
Mostly because when I sat down to write it, I was thinking of your jar of those tiny pumpkins that you had. And
I have a little jar of the candy corn pumpkins, and
they taste delicious. They taste exactly like what you think
pumpkins,
like what Halloween should taste like.
Okay.
So yeah, but
high praise.
When I did sit down to write it, I had no clue where I was going.
I think that did come across, unfortunately.
Most definitely. but where it ended up is somewhere a lot better than what I thought it ended up, because I thought he was going to follow the line of pumpkins, and in the room was the girl he was looking for the whole time.
Like roses instead.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, but instead I was like, you know what if he drowned in tiny pumpkins? And so he did. And then also...
I was just going to say, I definitely had that same thought as I was reading it, like, oh, we're introducing the girl, he's following exactly like a trail of rose petals. Like, I was expecting it to end with him kind of getting the girl, as it were. And I guess it did, but not in the way I expected.
Yeah, I mean, he has to get the girl now.
Uh-huh.
Apparently.
Yeah, so he's in a Groundhog Day kind of thing at the end. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. I will admit, I found that a little bit... I mean, I knew... logically that was going to happen, but the ending didn't quite signal to me, because I didn't know that, like, I wasn't sure if this is like he's waking up on the floor basically again, and this time he's holding a bottle, or if it's like a different time.
Yeah, so
or what.
At first I was thinking of him waking up on the floor, but the issue is that I realized that the very first scene is the day after.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense.
I figured it had to be the start of the party, but it was a little bit unclear.
And I didn't explain what the start of the party was, so I didn't really get that uniformity that I would normally do if I did something like that.
Yeah, the
like copy and paste.
Yeah, the completeness of the elegance of completing the loop.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Yeah. So Reuben, is there anything that you specifically want to bring out?
I really like this story. I think I kind of felt the I guess the chaotic energy that you bring to a lot of your stories, Jarvis, through this one, especially at the start, where it's got these things where, like, the second sentence is this kind of long run-on sentence where it's this and this and this and this and this, and it kind of leads to this really hectic, confused feeling, which I quite liked. Yeah, I really liked the vibe of it. It really captured this kind of confused person wandering through the aftermath of a party and then leading to this weird encounter with either the best or worst wingman of all time.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a good take on that.
Best or worst.
Yeah.
Depending
on your interpretation, I suppose.
Exactly. I mean, it is a wingman that will get you laid no matter what, even if you don't want to. But when I first sat down, I was thinking... as he got to the room, of course, I wanted the imagery of him drowning. I was like, oh well, what if it's like a wish type deal, and like the genie isn't gonna let him complete that wish or something like that. So then I went through some of my old journals, because there was a point in my life where I was really obsessed with like demonology.
Okay.
And then
you haven't read Pact. Oh my god. And you haven't read Pact.
Oh, is that what it's about?
I mean, yeah, I told you, it's supernatural.
Okay.
This one actually did give me... I think I'm going to say this a few times, but this one gave me some Pact vibes.
Yeah.
This is... Okay, for real though, this is like the most pleasant, like, thing in Pact. If this was in Pact, like, we would all want to be Tyler.
I don't know. I mean, this demon basically does, like... date rape him, I guess, is what it's doing. I mean, you know.
Maybe. Well, actually, I don't know.
I would still say it's preferable to most people's experiences.
Sure. Well, yeah, there's worse stuff than that in Pact, I guess.
Yes.
Still.
But yeah.
It doesn't seem like a happy experience.
Oh, no way. But yeah, I based the character of this otherworldly thing on depending on what you believe in, all that, on the one of the Christian demons, Channer.
Oh, I didn't know that. You know what?
Who's the wish granter.
I will admit, the thought of this question ran through my mind. I was going to ask who Creon and what is it, Chancer? Channer.
Yeah. So Creon is son of Monosius.
I dismissed that question with the thought that no, of course it doesn't mean anything. So I apologize for having that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tell me about that.
About Creon or about
Both.
Shenner? Okay, so
I mean, briefly.
Briefly, so Creon, son of Monosius. I have a personal connection to Creon because back in middle school, I was in a performance of Antigone as Creon, which if you've read that play, he has a lot of monologues, and during the actual performance of that, or at least in the rehearsal, I had my first mental breakdown.
Oh, good.
Because of me and my stammer, of course, and of course had to memorize so many lines. It's got so much, but through that, I fought hard, and it was the best performance of my entire life. So in my eyes, Creon is a god.
Okay.
Which is why I put him among actual gods in that sentence.
Cool.
Chenner is the wish granter in Christianity, and basically, once you summon him, he will grant you any wish, but of course at a very heavy price. But the wish will always follow suit, so it's not a thing to where the wish that you get isn't a trick on you. It is exactly what you want, but you have to follow that through.
Right.
Whatever it really is. And you have to pay its price, which in this version, either it's praises for actually what he does or what they do, or a soul. I don't know.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, just one.
All right, so that's this week's Monster Corner. Join us next week on Deep Into the Right Thing.
No, I'm glad I'm on this episode. I feel like it's very... it's just kind of working out to be very on point.
Yeah, it really does. That was not intentional. It just kind of ended up being that way. That's cool.
Matthias, if it wasn't intentional, they don't know that.
Yeah.
We can just pretend it was intentional. You don't have to say
It
that.
was intentional. Well, we'll cut and paste that everywhere where I said it's not. So my final things... I will admit it's a little too confusing.
Yeah.
There's a part it took me reading it and then listening to you, but when Dracula is holding the ceiling fan, I thought he was hanging from it as it was still going, and that would require, like, the only way that would, like, make sense / be funny is if it's actually Dracula, and I don't think it is, right? He's just a costume.
Yeah.
So it took me a bit to realize that he's just holding it, and that's a small detail, but there's like there's multiple of those. And I think that the story would have benefited. I mean, obviously, we say this basically every week, but if you would go back and like add some more hints of like this is a monkey's paw thing, or like there was a wish, or in that there's a girl, and where is the girl?
And I think that definitely chalks up with going in with intention.
Yeah,
like knowing that ending, because going in I was like, yo, Halloween rom-com, let's go.
Yeah.
And then I realized, wait, I don't like rom-coms, so I didn't do that. But
I really we need an acronym like YBUT for that. YBUT stands. It came up in we've got Worm. It's YBUTT, and it's you're being unfair to Taylor because it was like one of the most common. I don't want to say critiques, but comments.
A very common comment.
Yes. So we need something like that means. Need more information going, like you need to do a second draft kind of. I don't know, we'll workshop it.
Honestly though, I think that's my biggest like drawback as a writer is that when it comes to either projects or like this or just stuff in general, I do a first draft and then I'm like, I'm done, which is that's not writing at all. I have to actually go back and like redraft things. So I know right now I'm trying my best to do that, not with this specifically, but with a lot of the bigger projects.
Maybe we should start trying to do it. I say that, and I know that I'm not going to because I don't have the time.
Yeah,
but
it might be a fun idea for a challenge week to just say no new stories.
Ooh.
This time you have 30 minutes, and your 30 minutes are
editing,
going back and redoing or editing or adding to an existing story.
Yeah, I definitely want to do that at some point.
Next week.
No, not next. Well,
lock it in.
It's episode 30, so maybe, but we'll space it out a little bit more.
Yeah, of course. We like shouldn't do.
30. Yeah, that's a thing.
Also, we're gonna have a Thanksgiving special.
That's true.
Event
Maybe we'll do
and
it for
a Christmas
Thanksgiving.
one.
Because it'll be like giving thanks by doing
to yourself.
Oh my god!
Thank yourself for the ideas that you make.
Yeah.
It's Throwbanksgiving.
All right, let's move on.
Speaking about Banks, have you seen the new Banksy?
No, I haven't. Is there one?
No, there's not.
Okay. So to finish off this, talk about the story. My God, that took too long. I want to say again, I really love the pumpkins very, very much. Mm-hmm. I think it's a perfect example of being Halloween themed. I think it's a perfect way to signal that. And it's delightfully weird and, in the end, horrifying. So,
yeah. I think if I did have a chance to go back, right, I'll focus a lot more on those pumpkins. Because I want to, like, describe the, like, green ridges of the top. And I would love to spend so much more time in that kind of, like, nasty scene where the pumpkin goes into his lungs and it punctures the bottom of his lung. I want to, like, because I was looking up the terms for the lungs and none of them sound cool, right? It's just like bronchus, bronchial. I want something like a synapse, like the pumpkin bursts through the like synapses and it cascades down to the lung floor. I don't know.
Lung floor.
Some shit like that, but
yeah, I love how you went from synapse to lung floor in your cool terms.
In my cool terms. But yeah, I just
lung floor is a cool term.
Lung basement.
Lung pad.
Okay.
Lung bachelor pad. Lung loft.
All right. Anything else that you want to say on your story?
Oh, yeah. So going from beginning to end. Start from the very beginning, know exactly where I'm going. As in that kitchen scene, I think it's pretty solid. I would like to probably just work on a little bit more, clean up some things. Give a lot more visuals, kind of give us a sense of like where we are. Time period, so stuff like that. I want to describe the living room a little bit better, probably, because as I was writing I was like running out of time and I was like, what are movie monsters? I can only think of like 4.
I love how Frank is in there and I was like, I have no idea who that is.
Frankenstein's monster and Frankenstein.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's clever. I didn't catch it.
I feel like that's a pretty obvious one, isn't
what
it,
do you
Matthias?
Whatever.
But yeah, I would.
It's early in the morning.
I would make that obvious.
Okay. No, it works.
And then going into the actual. Going into the bedroom, I would want Tyler to actually say something else to this entity, because it seemed like the entity was just like monologuing at him, which it was, but. I don't know. I think if I walked into my room and there were pumpkins everywhere, and then there was a voice coming from underneath my bed and my room slowly filled with really tiny pumpkins that hurt.
I feel like you would say something.
I would say something. Yeah, I would. So, yeah. And then, yeah. So I'll make those changes, and then after all that, I will submit it to be the next screenplay at Fantastic Fest.
Sounds fantastic. That wasn't intentional. All right. I think that's all for your story. Now it's time to talk about me.
Yeah, it's time to this is the Matthias corner where he gets to stroke his own ego.
Well, okay. So anything that I have to say going into it? I don't know. I did the challenge, and basically I did the challenge while also ignoring the challenge. In fact, there was multiple times where like I really wanted to use the words and could have easily done so.
But you didn't.
But I didn't because I was like, oh, I'm doing the challenge. But
do you feel that hurt your story?
I mean, very mildly.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like I would have written the same story, basically, either way.
So it's just down to like word choice.
Yeah. Words, a couple of word choice things are slightly worse. But it's like either side of the challenge is the same story, isn't it? You write a Halloween story or you write a Halloween story, basically. So.
This is true.
At the same time, I really did want people to write Halloween stories, so.
I mean, a good Halloween story just soothes the soul.
Yeah, so I don't know what else I have to say about the story before we go into it, so let's just do that.
All right, cool.
I ended up titling this story Costumes. The house is past a gate of wrought iron at the end of a winding path up a hill. A jack-o'-lantern flickers at the door, its face a carved glare. When a house has a jack-o'-lantern in front of the door, that means you're supposed to go up and say trick or treat. Except Camus really doesn't want to go up that path. Go on, Camus, Camus's mother tells him. Go get your treats. She seems tired and taps her foot. It's still light out, though it's fading quick. Camus hasn't stayed out at night very often. His mother always makes sure he makes it back home in time. Okay, Camus says. He goes through the gate, swinging his pillowcase as he goes. His mother stays on the other side, looking at her phone. She used to go up with him to the houses, but now he's a big boy, and he's brave, and she embarrasses him by calling him her little knight. He's not little. He's 9, and he's brave, and even though the dead grass unnerves him, and there's a cold that slices through his costume, the first chill of a long night, even though he has this stupid, ridiculous feeling curling up his spine that he should turn back now, he continues up the dirt steps. The porch creaks as he steps up, because of course it does. Camus takes a breath. Then he pushes the doorbell. Ding, dong, echoes through the house. And then Camus waits. Camus is distantly aware of the tree in the front yard, wind whispering through its leafless branches. He can feel someone looking at him, the same feeling he gets when the teacher is looking at him when he knows he's messing something up. But it's probably just his mom. His mom is the one looking at him. So why does he feel all twisty in his tummy? He turns around and his mom is on her phone. The door slams open and Camus jumps. There's a woman at the door, an old crone with warts, a witch, but not the fun kind of warts, no. She has wrinkles and a wart inside her nostrils, yellow, and under her eyes in little bunches, and at the corner of her mouth. It's the kind that makes Camus think of being sick, of scratching himself all over, trying to get it all off, trying to get it... Hello, the crone says. Camus feels the inside of his mouth. Hi. Trick or treat, please? He holds the bag out. What are you supposed to be? The crone says. I'm a knight, Camus says, feeling just slightly better for being able to show off. He and his mom made the costume with tinfoil over cardboard. He's proud of it. He likes the way it really feels like armor, like he really is a knight made to slay monsters. He's not allowed to have a sword, but he does have a pair of scissors in his pocket because he forgot to put them away when they were finishing the costume, and that makes him feel a little bit more like a knight. Oh, really? Says the crone, looming in his vision. And I thought you were Camus. And the blood leaves Camus's face. He doesn't remember leaving the house, but when he does, he's holding 2 pieces of grandmother lozenges, and the door behind him is closed. He heads down the path to his mother, and she's looking up and watching him and not watching her phone. Wasn't she watching her phone? She smiles, but it doesn't seem like a real smile. It seems like a smile that's made for him, made to convince him. Camus shivers. Let's go to the next house, sweetie, Camus's mother says, and they start walking. Except Camus starts noticing more things about her as they walk. Her clothing seems so new, no stains or fraying that Camus can see, and Camus knows that that sweater is not new. She wore the same thing when they went to the doctor's, and Camus knows because he was disappointed earlier when he noticed. And he keeps looking, and under the yellow street lamp he watches his mother's face, but only when she doesn't know he's looking, and he notices a shine on it, and how glossy his mother's eyes look, like they're plastic, like they're a costume. The thought makes Camus stop involuntarily, which is bad because then the person that is probably, but not certainly, his mother notices and turns around and looks at Camus and asks, "Is something wrong, sweetie?" And Camus has to answer, and he's pretty sure that the voice sounded like his mother, but it sounds sort of off, and so Camus says, "Nothing," even though his stomach is twisting, and he's supposed to say if his stomach is twisting because the doctors told him it's good to tell people, but they didn't say anything about telling strangers, about telling people who are wearing a costume of your mother. "Are you sure, sweetie? You're breathing kind of hard." Camus knows his voice sounded weird a second ago, so he just nods. Then he decides he needs to take action, needs to get somewhere safe, so he chances it. He says, "Can we go home?" The person that is probably but not certainly his mother seems to look disappointed. She looks at her phone, checking the time, then at the setting sun, which is sending its last glimmers over the horizon. Okay. Did you get enough? They're on their way home now, and Camus can't track it all. He's pretty sure they hadn't gone down the street before, and he's walked the neighborhood before, but in the night the light makes everything look different, like it's slanted. There are people out on the street, but it's a small town, so there's a distance between the groups, and Camus is new, so no one says hi to him or his maybe mom. His maybe mom is leading the way, so certain of the way that it really feels like she's leading him somewhere. He can feel sweat beating down his back. It's all he can do to keep the sack of treats from slipping from his hand. The fabric is slick between his fingers. He knows he's too big to be afraid right now. He needs to be brave, so he keeps walking, even though everyone he walks by seems to stare at him as he passes them, turning away just slightly before he looks at them. Almost home now, the woman that looks like his mom says. She sounds dazed or dull. He can see his house at the end of the street, except it's not his house. It's taller somehow, skinnier, stretched. The door looks thin enough that you would have to turn sideways to get through. Camus rubs his eyes, though, and when he looks again, his house is normal, but maybe just a bit taller than he remembers. Like his house is a costume stretched over a different place. He can tell it's not his house. He would know his own house, and that's not his house. That's not my house, he says. Yes, it is, the woman says. You live here. Now come on in. Dread spirals out of his heart and sinks his feet 6 inches into the concrete. He can't move. Behind one of the windows, a shadow moves. He can feel the weight of the scissors in his pocket, except he knows that they wouldn't be enough to help anything. Camus, says the woman, with a perfect copy of his mother's face. She says it in a sing-song way, drawing it out. Camus. I have to go. And Camus runs. He runs as fast as he can, the tinfoil of his armor rustling, scraping in his run, and he can hear the woman behind him, hounding him, screaming his name. He doesn't dare look back, sure he'll see her running on all fours like a dog, with teeth stretching his mother's face. Oh God, where did they get her face? He runs through a gap in the neighbor's fence, but he's too big for it, so he tears the armor off, tears it so fast he gets a cut from the metal, and he scrabbles through the fence and he runs, just before something big slams against the fence. He runs away as fast as he can, over another fence, which leads out of the neighborhood and leads to the forest out back, away from the fake houses. He's at the edge of the lake now, the one he's not allowed to swim in, but he's allowed to visit. The water is calm, and far above the moon shines in full. The water is black, but the moon is bright enough to show a reflection of the forest within the black water. Camus looks over the water. He can see his reflection. A boy with pale skin around wide, bright eyes stares back, with a shiny, broken costume. There's a cut on his cheek. Camus reaches up to touch it, and the boy in the reflection does the same. The skin there is loose and wet. It must have torn when he went through the fence, Camus thinks. In the reflection, he can almost see something behind the cut. Something glistens, like tinfoil. The boy in the reflection smiles. Camus sighs. Everything makes sense now. He supposes it's time to take the costume off. He takes out his scissors.
So the comment from a generous Gnat is, what the fuck? That was an incredible read. I can still feel my skin crawling. I love the brilliant build-up of Mom's a relationship with Camus. She's bored, clearly not wanting to be out and about, and Camus is just happy she is, looking back at her for reassurance. And then suddenly, after the crone says Camus's name, which for me was the moment my stomach dropped, she's looking at him and focusing on him, like a mom should, but you flipped that on his head in the most perfect way, which I think it put it very perfectly.
I'm happy you didn't have to come up with your own opening to this discussion, Jarvis.
Well, no, it was definitely as he said, a fantastic read that definitely, I wouldn't say it makes my like skin crawl, but it makes my bones tingle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where it's, I don't know, it strangely reminded me of nothing else but like the first couple of scenes of Halloween.
Okay.
When the like music's playing, it's just like suburb, man, suburb.
Okay.
And I don't know, I feel that what I was feeling in that moment when I watched that is exactly what I'm feeling as I'm reading this.
All right.
So thank you very much for putting that forward for us to read.
Thanks.
I really liked in this story, it felt like when Camus first encounters the crone and starts to see that something's off, it feels like, oh, he's got a problem, but it's one that he can solve, and it's kind of like a puzzle. But then it gets more and more horrifying as we realise that there's no happy ending waiting for us at the end of this story.
So to talk about my thought process, so I went into it not knowing what I wanted to do. I had like brainstorm drafts where I wrote like a couple lines and I didn't like what I was doing, and so I went in a different route. Starting with going up to this creepy house. I think I basically skipped over like a lot of thoughts in the middle, and I came upon the idea of like, hey, what's a creepy thing that we can do with Halloween? We can make it so like the costumes are what's creepy, and maybe people are wearing costumes when they shouldn't be, right? Which of course means the mother has to be a fake mom, and the kids. I mean, okay, so what did you guys take away from the ending? I think it might be obvious, but
the ending to me, I got two different things from. One is that it was the ending of that one Goosebumps episode that I keep mentioning over and over again on the podcast, where they look up and say we have to invade Earth. So there are monsters on the inside or something like that.
Yeah.
Or it's Halloween 2, I think, where they produced a whole bunch of Halloween masks and then played a TV show on the TV that made everyone's brain melt.
Okay.
So
I think what is the interpretation of the ending of my story?
That they're monsters.
Oh, could you please elaborate a little bit?
Well, that they're wearing these like masks.
Okay.
On, and that it's finally time to take them off.
Okay, and then what's the other interpretation?
Well, that's the only one. Those two ideas boil down into this all-purpose
Reuben?
interpretation.
So for me, my interpretation of it kind of starts out feeling like Camus has been taken into some kind of alternate world is the first interpretation that I thought, but then that kind of gets broken. And it becomes more that either he's been cursed or he's had like some kind of psychological break that just means that he's seeing things that aren't there. His mother is his mum, his house is his house, but he's just losing his mind.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you got both of those. It's meant, in my mind, the more true one is the psychological break kind of thing, although I don't know if it's really that. Like, I mean, I know some people who very much like, if they get like a really bad vibe and are in a bad place, like they'll doubt everything, right? And you know it's not an uncommon feeling, right, as a kid, when the first time you wonder, like, is everyone else real, like I'm real, and then am I real too?
I'm wondering that right now.
Well, I'm gonna answer that with yes. So just put that away real quick.
Yeah, but you would say that,
exactly.
wouldn't you?
My subconscious would.
You big faker.
Anyway, we don't have time to go through all of that.
Phony.
So I wanted to really go into the full, extension of that. So the implication at the end, on that end of it, is that Camus goes to cut off his own face because under his skin he believes this is costume, is his real self. And so I was trying to get more hints of that. Another thing that happens multiple times is that I just didn't want to write things, so I just skipped over it because I was like, I don't know how to end the scene, so I'll just not.
Going through it, I did get a sense, because the way that it is written is definitely written in your voice, but it's a little bit different, where it feels like a lot of, I don't know, I feel like certain parts of the flow aren't fully drawn out.
Sure.
In a sense that it does feel that some things were cut off a little early, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just different than what I'm used to reading from you.
There are a few parts in it where, you know, the scene will change midway through a sentence, right? The first, or the crone kind of introduces herself right as Camus is in a train of thought and it's interrupted, and then there's this part where his mother's talking, and then halfway through her sentence it jumps to a new thing.
Yeah, well,
which
that one's
obviously is intentional.
But also, you can definitely do that. Like, it's fine. Just
I quite liked it.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. That second one is actually a really. She was about to say candy, so that's part of the reason I cut that. I was like, I really don't want to.
Do you want some sweets?
Yeah, I really didn't want to figure out the way to do it. I was like, you know what, this doesn't. Let's just cut. I already cut at the end of the crone scene. Might as well just do it here because I just don't want to do that. So that was actually to fit the challenge.
I think that's what really made it feel like there was some actual sorcery going on, right? Is because there's these weird kind of mental breaks where Camus is clearly not following what's happened, and he feels like he's jumped forward, you know, a minute or two in time.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think one thing that you might want to think about, right, is if you are trying to bring across that idea of this being a mental break, you can do things like that a lot more. Where in a given paragraph, it starts off somewhere totally different than when it ends. And if you establish that as the flow of the actual piece, at first, yes, it might be a little confusing, but over time, the audience can definitely get into it. And then it will work even further to the point that you're trying to get out of this.
Yeah, I might try that next time.
Possibly introducing some kind of hints towards it before the crone kind of stuff is introduced as well. Just to be like, hey, this is something that Camus has kind of dormant or whatever in him, and then it's like triggered.
Yeah.
Might work. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was torn on it because I wanted to make the Everything Supernatural a completely valid take as well.
What do you mean by that?
Like I wanted two readers read this, and one says it's supernatural, one says it's a psychological break. I want them both to be correct.
Oh, okay. So you want to play both fields?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's hard to do.
But I think this version of the story is not that.
It's
far
definitely
from a good balance.
It's not far off whatsoever. Like, you're very close to it. I just feel, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Second draft,
I mean,
third draft.
There were two comments left on the story, right, by Generous Nat and by Kippos, and they each had one or the other interpretation, so it clearly worked to some extent.
Yeah. I'm glad that went that way. One thing is that, like, I have no idea what I wanted the crone really to. I wanted her to trigger it, but I really didn't know how. So the only thing that came to mind is like questioning Camus. I thought you were Camus, and him being like, "Fuck, I thought so too."
I thought so too.
Yeah, so there's a couple hints of like doctors and stuff like that, but it's really not. It's kind of. I really didn't go that hard with it, which is really hard to balance, because if I go like, oh, he knows that he goes to the doctors and they tell him that he might be seeing things, but this time it's real.
Yeah,
it doesn't quite work.
You don't want it to be too obvious.
Yeah, so
and still leave that hint of mystery.
So
going back through it, let's say you want to make a novella, right?
Okay.
Got all the time in the world, all the skills, the ideas are all up in your cranium. Right? What would you do going from start to finish to change up what you currently have?
Well, first I wouldn't make a novella, but it was a solid short story.
Okay.
Would work. And I would just expand on the setup where, like, you go into it knowing that he might have a history of being like set off by weird circumstances, but I want you to kind of forget that as you go through the story.
Okay, so like you mentioned it in passing.
Yeah, basically. And only if you're really paying attention do you connect those dots. And even then, you might still be questioning. And I would have some kind of thematic thing with what the crone is saying. And like, I want the monster side to work on a thematic level as well. Like, I want you to be able to read that and interpret something interesting from it.
Okay. Let's do that.
That's the goal.
Sick. Right.
Quite liked it. It was suitably horrifying, so good job.
Thank you.
I will say though, there wasn't any smoking in it,
Oh, you're right.
and there wasn't any blood or alcohol.
Guys,
yeah, so
what's going
There was a
on?
little bit of blood.
yeah, but it wasn't enough.
Okay,
you know, like
fair enough.
someone didn't lose a thumb.
I mean, he only cuts off his face at the end, you know.
Yeah, but I want to get the scene of him like slicing off his
Yeah.
face skin like a Thanksgiving turkey, and then it
Yeah, there
folds
should have been-
over.
There should have been one more sentence at the end, which was just, and then he cut off his face, and there was blood everywhere, and then it can end on that.
That's a good take.
Honestly, though,
That's a good take. All right, let's move into our last story of the day. Let's
my
talk
story, Elliot's story.
about Reuben's story.
No, we're gonna read.
God,
we're
please
we're
not
gonna
Elliot's
read
story. It's-
Elliot's story.
Okay. For a second there, I thought
Yeah.
you just forgot who we were talking to. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna talk.
I am bad with names, but I'm not that bad.
Okay. Okay. Let's get into the Reuben story section. So Reuben, what should we know going into your story?
Yeah.
Gosh, what do we need to know? Well, I guess the first thing is, I don't know which of the candies that I name drop here are Australian specific. So
I think they're all.
they're just
I think we all have them in America.
Which ones?
okay. Cool.
The candies
cool,
in the
cool.
story.
I originally there was going to be candy corns in here until I realized that has the word candy in it, and I couldn't use those, so those had to go.
Frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
I kind of have tried to write comedy stories intentionally because I usually just kind of have a vague idea and start writing and see where it goes, and I want to kind of try and challenge myself to intentionally write jokes or funny lines. And I was going to do that here, but then that didn't work out at all. So
We'll
just
talk about that.
went back to my old style. Sure. There was actually, originally there was going to be, the story started the same. Well, we'll talk about this afterwards, I think. Probably works better after I've read it.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. So tell us the title and then go ahead and get started.
yep.
Yep. This story is called Full Bars. Only take one piece each, please. The best stuff is at the bottom. Jens looked at the sign and then peered into the bright orange plastic bucket. Fruit roll-ups, licorice, and little packets of dried apple looked back at him. Stingy. Jens lifted up some of the dried apple packets. There were a few large Mars bars underneath. Score. Full bars. Jens glanced at the sign next to the bucket before reaching into it and pulling out 2 full-sized bars. He tried to lift the bucket to pour some of his prize directly into his own oversized plastic bag, but it was stuck down or something. If you listened closely, you could hear a soft plastic rustling. Jens started rummaging around deeper in the bucket. If full-sized bars were near the top, he couldn't wait to find out what was closer to the bottom. Reaching in deeper, this thing seemed to stretch on forever. Jens pulled out handfuls of full-sized Snickers, picnics, bounties, even a few full-sized blocks of chocolate. Deeper. Squish. Pop. Jens wasn't seen again. I woke up. Every neighborhood has that house. The one that all the rumors are about. A murderer lives there or a witch. Usually it's just somebody who's playing without a full pack of Skittles, if you get what I mean, but sometimes it's true. This was where I lived. Agnes was a proper old-school witch. Bleed out a kid and pray to a dark lord kind of old school. Collect newts and brew a potion kind of old school. A house full of random, unsorted ingredients kind of old school. She was powerful, but she wasn't very organized, so she needed somewhere to put all her stuff while she wasn't using it. A bottomless bag is pretty useful for storage, but absolutely rubbish when you actually need to get stuff out again, so she improved on the formula. Gave me a brain so I can sort stuff for her, gave me legs so I can come when she calls, gave me low-level telekinesis so I can grab things off of the table and clear up after her. For 100 years or so, it was a pretty good life, but the thing about having an endless stomach is that you get really hungry. When the village started to notice kids go missing, it was pretty easy to blame Agnes. They grabbed their pitchforks and stormed her house. She killed a few of them, but eventually they overpowered her and set her on fire. Honestly, I felt a bit guilty about that. I mean, sure, she had killed a few of their kids, but she didn't know what I was up to. I learned my lesson that day. You can't eat too often, or else people will get suspicious. Please, only one piece per child. Full bars at the bottom. Marcy was ecstatic. This was the first year she was allowed to go trick-or-treating by herself, and she had found a great house. The past week, her friends had discussed in excruciating detail which houses were the most generous and which were stingy. None of them had known about this place, though. Marcy wasn't even going to go in, but something about the old house seemed to call to her. And she was right, full bars. Marcy reached into the bright orange plastic bucket, passed a toffee apple, and pulled out a full-sized Mars and a full-sized Snickers. If you listened closely, you could hear a soft plastic rustling. Marcy looked at the sign and, sighing, put back the Mars bar. The rustling stopped. Marcy turned to leave, skipping away. She couldn't wait to show off her haul tomorrow.
Fucking sweet.
I absolutely love that, which means that you should only take one piece of candy.
Yeah, that's a good moral.
Yeah.
Every story needs a really obvious moral.
Because I know, like, when
don't take too much candy.
I mean, whenever I go trick-or-treating, I'm definitely that kid. When it says only take one, I take the whole
You
thing.
know what? I didn't even realize this
A cautionary tale.
until just now, but it works for both sides. It works for the children to not take too much candy, and it works for the bottomless bag of holding to not devour too many children.
Yeah.
It works the same way. I didn't realize that. That's fantastic.
It's a tale against gluttony. One of the
A
cardinal
tale
sins.
as old as time.
Beauty and the candy bar at the bottom of the bottomless bottle.
Yeah, so, I don't know, this story, like, as I said before, I kind of wanted to start out with something that I thought would be funny, and so I thought, I want to make a story that's a bit spooky, but I want to make it about something stupid. What's the stupidest thing to be scary? Those little plastic, like, pumpkin things that everyone has. Like, such a non-scary thing.
And I mean, like, you definitely accomplished
You
that.
achieved that for
Because there was
sure.
a certain sense of levity to the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like even though children are dying, it's like this kid was a little shit.
Exactly.
So like whatever.
Like I wasn't busting my gut reading this, but I did read it through and through with a smile.
Yeah.
Even especially during those scenes. So yeah, I feel that you definitely accomplished that. Also, just the way that you wrote it and the prose, and then your overall flow was very it's like storybook like. Yeah, something that I can definitely see on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah, or one of the like slightly less scary versions of those books. You know?
Crypt, something from the Crypt.
Tales from the
Crypt, or Tales from the Hood.
Yeah, I don't like spooky stuff. I like stuff that's like conceptually a little scary, but just kind of stupid.
Yeah. I've read some of the. I used to have one of those. I think it was like
Goosebumps 3?
No, okay, I'm gonna say this and please don't laugh, but it's like Halloween-y, something like that. I know that's a movie, isn't it?
I know what you're talking about.
But there was multiple ones where it was like spooky and stuff, and like the theme in the title was weenies, except like multiple of the stories fucked me up.
Really?
Like, because they were... one was like a basically Final Destination where like someone died brutally on a roller coaster and they became a ghost. And then another it was like this family in their war against these bugs, and then the bugs get stronger and poison them, and it's terrifying.
Oh,
these don't
I
seem
feel like I know what
children's
you're
books.
talking about.
And then there was what was the other one? Oh, and then the last one, which I think I might have mentioned on this, was where it's Thanksgiving and the extended family comes over, including this one branch of the family. They're all vegans, and they're all being really uptight and up and righteous about it
Vegan-y.
because they're vegans. And then giant turkeys attack, right? And everyone starts running, and the vegans are all like, haha, we are not going to get eaten because we don't eat the turkey, but the turkey eats the vegans because you are what you eat, because they eat plants, so they're like plants and turkeys, and then they get eaten by giant turkeys.
Just goes to show, don't be a vegan.
Yeah.
You'll get eaten
Or
by
even
a giant
better,
turkey.
just don't talk to a turkey.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's a long tangent. I'm sorry about that. So I do have things I want to say about the story. So I really really enjoyed it. I love the sandwiching of the scenes. I especially love the kids' perspectives and how obviously one is better than another, and you can tell that just from the narrative.
one of them deserves to die.
Yeah, of
Let's be
course.
real.
I mean, okay, how would if I was a kid, right, and I'm reaching down, right, and then I find a whole block of chocolate, I'm just taking that and going, you know, like I don't.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
I don't need anything more than that, you know.
A hunk of chocolate?
Like
That's the
I'm
biggest hole.
picturing like a pound, like or two, like in a block
Oh.
of chocolate. Anyway,
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions and then a critique. So
Sure.
one question. So the sign changes at the with each scene. With the first and last scene, does that mean that they're different Halloweens, or is it like you just wanted to emphasize different parts of the
Or does
message?
it like change per person?
They were meant to hint different Halloweens,
Okay.
and also
Okay.
that the sign kind of came with the bucket, I guess, as like a part of its body. But I didn't really. I don't know. I think I could have invested a bit more into that.
No, I was just curious because I noticed it did change, and I just wasn't sure what it was trying to do. So my main critique is that while I do very much like the voice of the middle scene where it's from the what do you want to call it, the bag, I guess.
Yeah.
The bucket.
The bucket. Okay, let's call it the bucket.
It's definitely set very outside of the story.
Well, it's not. My problem with that isn't that. It's like I liked all of it, and I felt that it could definitely, like,
It can work.
like the information I enjoyed having it for the story, and I think it made me enjoy it more. But I thought that the voice was just a little bit too lighthearted and human. You know. I'm wondering if it was like slightly more detached and human, but still like relatively lighthearted. But like this sounds like an average guy. This sounds like like you know those isekais where it's like the guy who gets turned into a slime or whatever. This kind of sounded like that, you know.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's a fair critique, definitely.
But I like definitely get what you're saying, and I also feel that if you do want to characterize this section like that, I'm always in the wheelhouse of you either go all the way with it or you don't do it at all. So if you take that voice, you should go even farther, make it even more human, make it seem like you're like best bud, but he's this bag that eats children, right?
It's
just
something
an
I
option.
tried to do. I kind of wanted it to be. I wanted it to be a bit more other, but I just ended up writing in my own voice. I think I wanted to include more things like I put in the. Usually it's just somebody who's playing without a full pack of Skittles, if you get what I mean, as kind of like a weird expression that doesn't exist. It's something that was made of candy would use, and I wanted to put in more like that, but I just kind of, I don't know, didn't in the end.
You know what's funny is that I didn't know exactly what you meant when you wrote that, so I thought that sentence was very successful.
Yeah.
So that's having more weird metaphors and like that. I mean, I really like this perspective of like, oops, I just ate too many kids and my creator was killed. That's too bad.
That sucks.
I feel kind of bad about it.
Damn, when you eat too many kids.
That feel when.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has that Halloween where you just eat too much and you feel bad about it for like a week after.
Yeah.
I think I just have one other thing to say about it, which was, I think originally that second part was going to be, and this is ridiculous, it was going to be like a detective interviewing the bucket to get it to like understand. Like the second part was always about, okay, what's the actual backstory here, and it was going to be a detective interviewing it, but I couldn't get that to not just be too ridiculous. So I had to change
Do you know
it.
how genius that would have been? Though? I would have loved to see. Do you know how you could extrapolate so much comedy into that, especially if you use like the typical detective archetype with the hat and everything, the little flip pin. He's like, so.
Well, I was trying to, I was trying to do that, but how do you get it to be? The real conflict to me was the detective has to be actually asking questions in order for the bucket to answer, but then also. How do you get someone who thinks of themselves as a normal detective to be okay with asking questions to a talking
You know what?
bucket?
To be honest, I have no idea how to answer that question. Like when you said that a second ago that this could have been a detective thing, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how the hell you can make that scene work.
Well, I feel
I know, it was so...
it like really depends on where you want the story to really reside and how silly you are willing to go, because if you just say that the detective is fine with it, then the audience will get that he's fine with it. But that will also change what everything else means within the story. But I feel that
it kind of makes it a bit magical.
Exactly, yeah. Makes this happenstance a more normalized thing. But I do feel if you do go for that ending, I don't know, I would love to see that scene. But of course, it's hard to strike that up and actually come up with that, especially when you have to think about where the mouth of the bucket is.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another little question. So the second scene from the bucket's perspective starts with "I woke up," but I think the problem there is that nothing comes from them waking up. You know,
I just woke up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that happens to me every day, right? No, you're right. That's a fair point. It was originally going to be the bucket actually gaining sentience from the witch, but that got lost as I was writing it, I think.
Okay, I see.
I actually think that second part, I think another problem with it is it feels like it starts too many times. Like each of the paragraphs feels like it's starting a new section, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the first three for sure.
Right.
Well, I also get that you're trying to cover a lot, and each one of the things that are being said in like each paragraph is highlighting a different aspect of the bucket's sentience.
Their background.
Yeah, their background. So I definitely get it being a little difficult to connect those ideas entirely without it being a scene, right? Because this is just background, right? It's not a scene. You don't get a whole lot of very tangible pieces.
I think there are tangible pieces, but yeah, it is very storytelling.
Exactly. Yeah.
I see what you're saying about each one sounding like a new beginning. Every neighborhood has a house, right? Agnes was a proper old school witch.
Obama's bag is pretty useful for storage.
Well, yeah, like all...
they'll...
Which, I mean...
They'll kind of feel like topic sentences.
Right. Honestly, what you could do is basically pick one of these, because they're all pretty good, and they all are like really great ends to the backstory of this bag, and then find a way to weave in the core point, the core info in those other paragraphs in the rest of it, because then it will flow a lot better, and we get a really nice end to the life of this bag.
So, Reuben, if you were to go back and change and rewrite your story, what would you change?
I think we've talked about it. I think I'd focus most on that second paragraph. Maybe instead of having it have so many, new starts, not the second paragraph, the second piece, maybe just pick one, like the one where it talks about, okay, the brain is so that you can sort things, the legs are so that you can come, and have that play out through a scene. Like, what was the situation that led to the brain? What was the situation that led to the legs? Have that be the second part, maybe? It would need a bit of experimentation, I think.
Maybe you can have the ritual where she grants these things, and then I let out a huff of laughter because I was picturing the brain of a child to give you sentience, the legs of a child to let you move, the arms of a child
to let you grab.
Anyway, I just thought that was funny. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the end of the us story section. So our final section is going to be talking about listener submitted stories. Your
listener
submitted stories. We're going to talk about 5 of them, and then we're going to do our little outro, and then we're going to announce the words for next week, which I forgot to post, even though it's Saturday. And
it's all good.
Post Friday.
We'll post them.
Okay, so we're going to talk about 5 people's stories today. We're going to talk about...
Asgard Ziggle.
Can't wait.
No Goodbye.
Ghost Pac-Man 4.
Thank you. And Kao Sublu V2 and Shin 7.
Shin 7.
So we'll be talking about stories from those 5 people. If you were not selected, we apologize, but there's only so much time that we have for this section.
But please keep on writing in. The more you write in, the higher your chances of getting selected becomes.
Every single time that you do the right thing, you get added to... A new entry gets added to the list, so you get a higher chance of getting drawn. on. In fact, I will say I had to re-roll so many times because I kept selecting people that just didn't write this week. So
shame, we know your name.
If you didn't write this week, could have been you.
Could have been you. And it said it was me.
Yep. All right, so let's go through these stories. Who's first? Let's.
First up is Asgard Ziggle for C95-102.
Yeah. So to summarize this is a very SCP-esque story.
Yeah. I definitely got that.
Yeah. Which I think it's inspired. I mean the title alone seems to hint towards that.
That is definitely that SCP that makes you pull your teeth out.
Oh God. So this story has 3 amateur researchers, it feels like, going to this haunted painting on Halloween, or I assume it's Halloween. I think we do get hints of it. Anyway, yeah, because there's trick-or-treaters. And we have it described, and we learn a little bit more about the organization, especially as over the phone they have their instructor, supervisor kind of person talk to them. And so they describe the paranormal case, which is this painting that you cannot describe, and that goes on until one of them takes a picture of the painting, and one of the 3 disappears, and no one in the scene remembers them. And so we're all a bit spooked. And I was very interested in the world that was being constructed.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, so I very much enjoy this story. I love the setup and the kind of... we classify the object, and so we kind of rest, and we're like, okay, cool. It wasn't that big a deal. And then someone dies. And we kind of... Yeah, we get pretty freaked out about it.
They might not have died. They might have just gotten sucked into the painting. I absolutely love classification systems of supernatural things. So this really scratched that itch for me. I always love that stuff.
They did a really great job of making each of these characters seem like the exact person that they're trying to portray.
All right, so let's go to the next story, which is going to be by No Goodbye, which is a story titled October Girl.
Oof, I love... Okay, so this isn't like... Okay, would you say this is like a Manny Pixie Dream Girl?
It's bordering on that.
I would say it's like chill autumn leaf, daydream girl.
Okay, I think even if we call it that,
it's not a bad thing.
No, because the problem that comes from Manic Pixie Dream Girl is when it's applied to boring average boy who the only way for them to become an interesting / good person is through the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, which this is not. So anyway, let's go real quick. So basically, this boy, I assume it's a boy, actually, I don't know.
All we know is that they are infatuated with October Girl.
October Girl, which is their only title, and they are kind of... There's just this really... It's not really something I can summarize, but it's this beautiful description of their feelings for October Girl and the kind of person October Girl is. And then we finish with a scene as they meet on Halloween, and we have this wonderful, adorable interaction with October Girl. The main character comes without a costume, and October Girl says that's unacceptable, and they put part of their costume onto main character, and it's so cute, and my heart filled. my heart grew to 3 times the size.
Honestly, yeah, I feel with this is something that you just have to read, because in the summary alone doesn't do it justice for what it's doing. It's a very feely thing, like as I started reading it, I was like, oh, this is reminding me of the best parts of growing up.
Yeah.
And all of the goods that comes with it, and that odd place when things just feel so strongly. So I absolutely loved reading it. I think the description of October Girl was fantastic.
Did you guys get this vibe of slight supernaturalness going on in this story?
And I honestly wasn't sure if that was intentional.
Let's read her description, which satisfies both of what you're saying. So I mean, one hint for the supernatural is that the character is called October Girl, rather than a name. She didn't wear autumn colors, the season wore hers. Aromatic scent of dry dead leaves and bark was her smell. The chilling breeze, her red-brown hair shifting to its direction like flames.
Now, with that, I can see it two ways. I can definitely see that possibly being a supernatural thing, or really great description.
Yeah. It feels like this. I would edge towards just like the feeling that this main character has for this girl is edging towards supernatural.
Yeah, it's just very infatuated. And it borders on kind of like mythical even.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But then October Girl schedules a date 3 weeks after they first meet, just so it can be on Halloween. Like, come on, that feels a bit supernatural.
She's October Girl. She's Indian different, okay?
You say that like you're making fun of it, but I know you're not.
No, because I love that
true.
shit.
It gave me this weird vibe because I kind of maybe this is a bit of like meta knowledge that I'm not sure if it's intentional or not by No Goodbye, but gave me this feeling of I was expecting something to go wrong on this date because I just felt like there's something off here. And then it ends so sweetly, and it's just this great kind of release of tension that gives it such a nice happy ending.
Yeah, I wonder if they would have continued writing the story if they would have eventually gone to something like that.
Honestly, though, I think what it is right now, it was very refreshing.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't finish reading. It's like, oh shit, I gotta really think about it. I was like, oh, that was nice. I'm good. I'm like woken up because I read it like 3 a.m. So that was great. Yeah, it was a good time.
All right. Unless you have anything else to say, Reuben. Okay, great.
Nope.
All right, so next let's move on to Ghost Pac-Man 4's story, which is titled
Trick or Treat.
It's called Trick or Treat. I didn't want to insult the words I kept trying word insulting.
You were.
Yeah, I was
you
like
were about to go
generic,
basic,
basic. No, but of course that's not a critique. It's a title. Anyway, I'm spending too much time on this. So in summary, so this is a very interesting story. I very much like this story. Where we start off with a child trick-or-treating and saying proclaiming that they are a goblin, and they're getting candy until they see another child that is also dressed as a goblin, and they go off into the woods to reveal that they are both goblins, like true goblins that are they are dressed in costumes that make them look like children dressed up as goblins, and they start to fight for the territory of trick-or-treating in this part of the place. And I could immediately tell the whole like conflict that comes with too many goblins trick-or-treating in one area. I could picture what happens. So they're about to fight until a what's the title?
Arbiter.
Yeah, an arbiter, which we kind of understand is like a supernatural policeman detective kind of thing, comes and to arbitrate the dispute. The arbitrator gives them the prisoner's dilemma. I mean, I don't want to explain the whole thing because it takes a while, but it's this fun conflict where like both of the goblins are too dumb and untrusting to get out of the situation in a good way, and they get punished for it. And it's really fun. It's cute. There's some actual tension in it, and I just very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's a great lesson in escalation.
Okay.
Like going from small to larger to large, and I think it's spaced out in a way that makes perfect sense. As I read more and more, I was drawn even deeper and deeper into it, and like especially when the arbiter showed up, I was like, oh shit,
yeah,
it's about to go down.
And there's a wonderful setup where our arbiter presents the prisoner's dilemma. Like, you can either present this Tootsie Roll, which is the good, or you can present this bullet, which is the bad. If you both present bullets, you both get punished and stuff like that. So bullets obviously implies that they're both going to die.
Yeah.
And since they both present bullets, you're like, oh great, they're both gonna get a shot. That's not how I wanted this scene to end. But
yeah, it even ends with the arbiter raising his gun before the hard cuts.
Yeah, but then we get revealed that it's actually they're just getting punished by having to give out candy to the trick-or-treaters, which is so delightful.
Yeah, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think one huge thing about all these stories is this is the spirit of Halloween.
This is the spirit of Halloween. Yeah, that's true.
Just bubbly, little light, but also a little dark.
A little bit dark.
Like a good coffee. Like a good coffee.
Okay.
I really liked about this story that, like, this story implies such a big world, right? But and this is something that's very hard to convey when you have 30 minutes to write it. It can easily feel like you're just kind of getting lost in a big world that you can't really fully explore. But the way that this story unfolds feels very natural, and you feel like you get a good glimpse and you understand everything you need to, and there's no confusion about how the system works or anything. It all kind of just works quite nicely. I think that's a really well written part of this story.
Yeah. To give a small critique, so the two goblins, I mean, maybe this is the point, but they were almost exactly the same. I know that's probably like part of the point.
Purposeful,
but also in some of the dialogue was kind of hard to tell which one was talking, but maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe that's it doesn't matter which one's talking because the result is the same.
Yeah. Well, I think on that case, it would be interesting if they leaned into it, made them so similar to where they're even saying the exact same thing.
I mean,
yeah, they're not that far off of that, right?
Yeah.
There's this one line that I really like when Malith says something that he thinks is really smart, and in his mind, the point of view goblin, he thinks the stupider goblin glared violently at Malith's cunning move.
Yeah.
It's just this great line to immediately set up exactly how Malith thinks. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's wonderful. All right, let's move on to the next story. So the next story is by Kausu Blue V2. This story is called "I Hate Fairies," and it's from their A Shard of Sorcery world. And so this story has a witch is trying to recover some spell books, and so goes to a library that is having like a little Halloween party. But while they're there, they also find a bunch of other books that they want to recover, so they just basically pocket them until they are confronted by a elf, which is described in a kind of uncomfortable, but honestly I was kind of into it. Like I mostly took away that like this elf is hot. Like that's what I took away from it. I'll be honest.
An open jacket and no shirt.
I mean, come on, he's got a vast and luscious garden of curly black hair.
Vast and luscious.
And so
Yep, yum.
there is a short conflict, very, very pact-like, where the witch seems that they really should not lie as they threaten the elf, and then there's a wonderful little conversation, and then they have to leave. So the things I really loved about this is the voice really of the witch it's wonderful in a bantery way, and you really like can tell like some of the stuff that they take for granted as a witch and the stuff that they don't.
I really liked. There's this part where the elf kind of raises this question of kind of questioning the gender of the witch. And the witch like shuts it down in a way that felt very real and felt like this character has this full interesting story that makes me want to hear more about them. I quite liked the character because of that.
Yeah, like the line, he smiled wider. Enough of this shit. And then they turn to leave. Yeah, there's the dialogue is this wonderful like quippy, they're both using turns of phrases, and they both have their angles. They feel very distinct.
I think I have one piece of feedback for this one, though, which is that the fact that there was a party in the library didn't feel like that relevant, or didn't feel like it had that much impact. I would have kind of liked to see that a little bit more, but I'm not sure how. Just kind of felt like there was a bit touching on the vibe of it and the atmosphere as the story started proper, but then kind of fell away as it turned into this confrontation with the elf.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing, and I felt like we were being told that there was a party there without actually knowing or feeling it, Yeah, I would agree with that, and be either cut it or commit to it. And I don't know, make them have to like hide from the people or like walk through it between them or whatever else.
One thing before we move on. The very last lie. I ordered a latte to go. I will say talking on the real, every latte you can take to go. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty high level critique, Jarvis. You're right. I mean, that's not. I mean, at Starbucks, yes, but it's not true everywhere. There's places where you can get it in a mug.
Yeah, you can take that.
No, you can't take the mug.
They have 1,000 mugs in the back.
No, like a full-on
they expect
porcelain.
you to take the mug.
I could have been taking mugs this whole time.
Yes, most definitely.
Oh my god!
You just have to walk
I feel
out.
like Jarvis is just setting you up to get arrested.
Get arrested for stealing a
steal it.
$2 mug.
Yeah, for mug theft. Don't listen to the mug boy.
Speaking
over here.
of-
what was it? The mug? I've forgotten what it
I
was.
really want to
mug
get a
guy.
Doof Media mug. I really do.
Mug man.
Ooh, a doof mug.
I
You
really
know,
do.
they sell those on the Doof Media
Yes,
merch
I
Ooh,
store.
do.
what is the website for that?
I think we're planning to change it.
Insert it here.
It's on the website. So
It is on the website.
You know, that's a better way to say it, because eventually it will change. If we just say go to the Doof website, like eventually they'll find it. You know.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, doofmedia.com, and then there's a link that says store, and you can get... What can you get? You can get a magnet, a mug, a t-shirt, and that's it actually for now.
For
That's all you need.
So to finish off talking about I hate fairies, I really like the story, and it was just a fun ride, and I would like to see more from this character. I know they've written other stuff in this world, but I don't know if we've read stuff with this specific character. But I hope they come back, because I really enjoyed it. All right, let's talk about the final story for this week. The story by Shin 7.
Shin 7.
Which they
Shin
did the
7.
holiday challenge. I don't know how many other people did the holiday challenge, but I don't think it was everyone. I think it was much less than everyone.
But it's easier to tell that Shin 7 did it, because the very first thing that you see is dash, holiday challenge, dash.
Okay. So this story is called Just a Couple of Hours. And so we have these two characters, Ashley and Jacob. Jacob is kind of a Jack Skellington kind of figure. That's I couldn't. I mean,
Yeah, it was
they
like
described-
there was a certain Jack Skellington vibe to him.
which it wouldn't leave me, and I could only picture them that way. But they're wearing a mask, and Ashley, they go on a date together to a party. The party's not really described that much, but it's implied that they have a good time being together. Before they have to go home before midnight, basically, and Jacob, thanks for the night, and then he disappears after one last kiss on the forehead, which is very cute.
12 sparks left behind.
Yeah, so we have a kind of like I don't know what to call this. It's kind of Cinderella situation.
Yeah, that is definitely what I got from it, especially since there was the hard cut at midnight. It's like a reverse. Well, it's not even like a. So it does have the elements of Cinderella, but one of them isn't like royalty or like a super high
it's
status.
the classic. They only meet one night of the year.
Yeah.
And they have their romance on that one night.
And then that's all they need.
Yeah. So I thought it was a very nice romantic story.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, the like romance is definitely brought out by the amount of time that is taken with each one of these scenes to really let it breathe. You get a lot of the back and forth dialogue between the two characters, which is very much so affection that is between both of them. So that's like a fantastic job done there.
Yeah, I think this story, more than any of the other ones that we read, you really feel the chemistry between these two in a very real way.
Because they feel
which was
live.
great.
Yeah.
Very live.
I also really liked in this story, there are a lot of puns that you realise. One towards the start is where Jack Skellington asks, "So how is," he asked, a smile on his face, "life?" Which is a normal enough question when you don't know that he's like a ghost.
Yeah.
But it's just that kind of stuff that makes it really fun to dive deeper into.
Yeah, I didn't notice that on my first read. That's a wonderful point. I want to point out a tongue-in-cheek moment where they're doing the holiday challenge, and they have a line where it says, I'm not so sure. I mean, it's a how and then cut that sentence to nope, don't say that.
Why not?
Are you telling me that the host will get angry if I call it a ha? Yes, she will. So yeah, I would have gotten very angry as the host if you had said Halloween. So
I would have thrown my fist through this mic into your stomach.
Wait, okay, so where's the fist coming from? If it
is coming out of their
okay,
headphone
no, I got it.
Yeah.
They're wearing earbuds.
Yeah.
They have one earbud in, the other earbud is dangling. So you punch through the microphone and it comes out of their earbud, and you punch them in the stomach.
It is my my like special alt. I call it digital punch.
Digital punch. It's really good. So I really love that little touch. And yeah, I really love these characters and the fun interaction. You know, like he has this slightly awkward. He calls her Milady and like tips his top hat, and she's like, "No, God, why stop that?" And I thought it was it's lovely.
Yeah, very tongue in cheek.
I can't help but think about the logistics of this relationship, because obviously she has introduced this Jacob to her friends at these parties. Do they know that he is a ghost? Because they only see him once a year. That would be so strange.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like this story is not really about that, so I don't know how much it's worth getting into. But like I did, I did have the same question
to think about.
Well, because I was like, I mean, this doesn't seem like overtly. I mean, it is romantic, but it's also like they're not like, super. They're not gonna go to bed early together. Like.
No, but they do plan to see each other each year. Like it ends with until next year, which they're in this for the long haul. And I don't know, I wouldn't. If my friend was dating a ghost, I would probably have words with them. I mean,
I would say
talk about a dead end relationships.
No,
I would congratulate them because there are a lot of benefits to dating a ghost.
But yeah, so to finish off, I really enjoyed that story, and there was a lot of like. Fun little romantic stories this episode.
Yeah,
so,
and I also note that I also noticed that how the spirit of Hallows Eve brought out the bromance in all of us.
Yeah, it really serves to start to outweigh the damage that Elliot's story did to my psyche. So.
Yeah.
Well, Elliot's had some romance too. So
God, yeah, that
I don't know
one.
if we'll call it romance.
It was romance between awful characters, but he didn't get selected this week. So let's move on.
So let's never talk about it.
All right, so we're going to do our outro, and then we're going to mention the next week's words.
So, if you want to be like us and all these awesome people who we are going to name,
let's name all the wonderful people that wrote this week, and so thank you to everyone that wrote. Thank you to everyone that's continuing to write. Thank you to everyone who's writing in the future and listening back to this episode. We really appreciate it. There really wouldn't be a podcast without wonderful writers writing along.
Because
with us.
this podcast is for you by you.
Mm-hmm. So I want to thank Asgar Zeigel.
More didn't mail.
That's close enough. Kippos21.
Applejack1177.
Which is a new listener. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Bisexual Punch Party.
Who is also a new listener.
Yeah, I think so. I know that they are a Doof fan. I remember hearing them mentioned in We've Got Word and stuff like that. So thank you for branching out and trying us out.
Thank you, Ace of Sword.
No Goodbye.
Sir Raven.
Myz1.
Calinero985.
Ghost Pac-Man 4.
Kasubalu V2.
Haunt of the Heron.
Sarah Penguin.
Generous Nat.
Shin7.
And Rid Tom.
Thank you so much for everyone that has submitted. Your stories are fantastic. Makes me feel horrible every day that I'm not on the level of your greatness.
Yeah, I feel like in anime, and I'm facing my rivals, except all the rivals are all of the listeners, and I have to get better to become number one.
So then you have to go off on your own and like talks like an old master, train for years, and then you come back, but your rival's also been training.
Yeah.
So he's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So you really have to fight for it.
Yeah.
We just gave you the plot of My Hero Academia.
And every other anime.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, I want to... we're going to be doing a Media MD episode pretty soon on Transformers, but the next one that I'm going to be on is absolutely going to be on Akira, because I cannot believe that you have not seen Akira.
I want to do that.
Yeah, okay, you can do it.
Not only have I not seen it, I don't even know what it is.
That's ridiculous.
You don't need to Don't look up a single thing
don't look it up.
Just watch the movie.
If you are a Doof patron and you are in the patron Discord, do not tell them because of course the best way to experience Akira is with no foreknowledge.
But we're going to be talking about the Transformers movie. That's an anime.
That's an anime? Is that what
So
you
it's the same
said?
thing,
It cut
right?
out.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Transformers. It's an anime, yeah. Right? Because it's animated.
Nope.
I mean,
Okay.
you could say that, but it's also fine to be wrong. So
Okay. So I'm making an unofficial promise to the Doof patrons that there will be an Akira episode, and we will educate the rest of the Doof cast on it, because I honestly cannot believe that you guys have not seen it. Like it's
it is the most famous anime movie.
It's the. This is actually the Media MD prescription for Akira right now.
You need
Give us the teaser.
you need 7 cc's of Akira and 12 cc's of Tetsuo right now.
Yeah, Tetsuo.
Tetsuo!
Canada. Okay. Anyway.
You don't get it. If you want to ride along with your favorite friends,
You can go to /r/do the right thing and go to the latest episode thread and leave your story in the comments. You just have to set a timer for 30 minutes and use 3 of the 4 randomly generated words.
exactly. And if you're not able to get on Reddit for some odd reason, you can always send, and you still want it to be posted, you can always send your story into our Gmail, which is rightthingcast@gmail.com, and we could post it for you. Or if you just want feedback, we'll gladly read it and give that to you.
Or you can tweet at us, follow us to see what the new words are by following at rightthingcast on Twitter.
Yes.
So another thing I want to add, and I still don't know how to do this naturally, even though we've been part of Doof Media for like 20 episodes now, but we are part of Doof Media, and so one of the wonderful ways you can support us is going to the Doof Media Patreon,
Please.
and donating $1 a month or whatever else you can afford.
Give us money.
By doing so, you get a greater chance to get talked about in episodes. By the way, if you do that, you still and you haven't already, please DM me on Discord or send us an email saying your patron name and your Reddit username so I can add you to the list, because it's been a while and so it's not like updated. So just letting you know. So what other stuff is going on in Doof Media? I haven't been listening to some of the latest shows because I've been trying to catch up on Middle Game, which is what the this month's book club was over, which concluded last night.
Yeah, that episode has just gone up.
Oh,
so if
fantastic.
you're interested in checking out and discussing that book, you can find that on doofmedia.com.
I still can't because I haven't finished. If I hadn't read the book, then I'd be like, oh, you know what? I haven't read the book. Maybe I can go listen to it. But I'm in the middle of reading the book, so it's just spoilers. So
so you
can't.
have to finish it.
Yes, I have to finish it and then go listen to it. But Reuben, what is going on at Media MD and Deep and Packed?
Yeah, we're about to release Media MD Halloween Spooktacular. We'll be talking about both of the Jordan Peele movies, about Us and Get Out, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to revisit those films, a year or 3 years after they've come out, or, however long it is.
Did you have to re-watch them?
Yeah, I rewatched them both today, actually, and they really do hold up as excellent films. So if you want to hear more about that, wait until Halloween and then check out Media MD at doofmedia.com.
Fantastic. And I assume Deep Impact is ramping up more and more. I'm excited to check back in.
Yes.
More power.
Yeah, I'm very much enjoying it.
2 to 3 episodes a week. So
you guys are
if you wanna
prolific.
follow along with
I
that.
cannot believe how many
and
episodes
y'all
you guys
also
put
have
out.
y'all also have full-time job?
Yes, we do.
Wow.
It's tiring work.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of love there. I can tell.
It's like 2.5 episodes a week, right?
Yeah, something like that. Usually about 40 minutes to an hour
literally
each one.
any time that I want to listen to a Deep Impact episode, there's a new one. Like I just I'm like, you know what? It's been like a day since I listened to it, so let's just put it on, and then it's there.
There's like 6 more episodes in that
Right.
time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And also, of course, as I mentioned, I want to plug, we'll be doing a Media MD episode over the 1986 Transformers movie, which I love very much, which I will get.
So you'll actually, that same episode, the Halloween episode, will feature you slightly talking about Transformers, and then fortnight after, we'll be back to talk about it in more detail.
Fantastic.
Nice.
So one game of Fortnite after.
Ooh.
Have you guys done Fortnite?
Yes.
That's how it
On
works.
your podcast?
Have we covered the game
Yeah.
Fortnite? No. I mean, I don't know how much there is to
It's
talk about there beyond just like,
yeah,
it's a fun
Chapter
game.
Someone
Two
needs to
just came
prescribe some media that you may have missed, and maybe you missed Fortnite.
That's true. That is true. I mean, we could talk about like, we really like how the base building feels like a good metaphor for growing yourself and your skills as a person. Maybe.
Also, when the robot stabs the dinosaur monster, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's find out what next week's words are.
Next week's words are, listen very carefully, children. They are comb.
Oh, why do you gotta yell it like that?
They're comb. Unbecoming. Snow and leg. These
Wait, can I see it?
are odd words. Or comb.
So comb, as in like the hairbrush, like you comb your hair.
Unbecoming.
Unbecoming, like it's not
Becoming.
becoming of you. That's weird. Snow, as in the cold thing that falls from the sky, and leg, which is what most people use to move around on.
Ooh, I already got a story for next week.
Okay, so what is your story, Jarvis?
My story is about Papa Legba. Right?
What?
He.
What? No. Stop.
Is that a thing we're meant to know
Stop
what it is?
right there. What did you say?
Papa Legba.
Papa Legba?
Papa Legba. He is actually one of the deities in voodoo, I think.
Okay, okay.
So, Papa Legba has a couple of lice in his hair because, of course, he is kind of dead. So, he combs it out, washes it, and he repeats. As he's looking in the mirror, he's shabby, haggard. He's musty and crusty, and he hasn't put lotion on in days. He's unbecoming of himself, and he's nothing like what he wanted to be. And it's snowing.
And he knows nothing like Jon Snow.
That's perfect. So my story is going to be about John, who has a very bad day because he literally unbecomes. His legs fall apart, and as he combs his hair, it falls out, just like his
Just like snow.
just like snow, and his legs fall apart, just like his hair did also. And I've already used all the words, so I don't need to go on.
Started off so strong, but
Is it? Can I get a rules clarification here?
Yes.
Do you have to come up with these stories in 30 seconds or 30 minutes?
Well, this is to explain the bit.
Yeah,
we
this
do
is
this
a
bit
bit.
where we're at the end of every podcast, we just very quickly come up with the most surface level weird
story using the 4 words as quick as possible.
Yes. So now it's your turn. Go. You have 3
Go.
seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Of course. Yep. So this story is about a snowman, and he is very unbecoming. He swears a lot, and eventually he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any legs. What was the 4th word?
Comb.
Yes.
Comb. And he finds a disembodied leg and has to comb its leg hair to make it look more becoming. And that's what the story's about.
Wow, it's really good. I can't wait.
I can't wait to read that. That
so
100-page script. Yeah.
So to read these stories and to hear about many others, join us next week as we help you do the right thing.
During that whole point, you were looking me deep in my eyes. I was like,
I was searching for you to help me.